Hello, guys and girls, and welcome to episode 76 of the FReality Podcast. This is a weekly VR AR live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. You can catch the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor. Thank you to everyone that is joining us live in the chat. Great to see you all joining us. Hello to you all. Sorry for the slight delay in the start, but we're here for you now, so let's get the show on. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, put them in the chat, and we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this week, this guy's been playing hide and seek in VR and blasting around the Friesland on his Super 73. It's, of course, Nathie. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I got a Super 73 now. I'm so happy.
Yeah, it's a really cool piece of kit. Like, maybe you should explain what a Super 73 is for the uneducated.
Flamethrower, right? Flamethrower?
Flamethrower? No, that's although that's also on my bucket list.
Grenade launcher? What is it?
Super 73 is an electric bike, and it's basically going super fast, and it's just amazing to tour around with. It's coming from California. It was a Kickstarter first, and now they are selling them everywhere. And it's just cool to cruise with your friends. We have two now because my brother bought one first, so you can just hang out with friends and just go wherever you want. And it was a sunny day. I'm not sure about you guys, but the sun was shining, the flowers were growing. I was like, living
the dream.
To use my bike and explore the world.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, good to have you on the show, dude. Next up, we've got a killer combo this week. Legendary VR Twitch streamer Zimtok5 and host of the VR show Epyx911, both live from Canada. How you both doing?
Doing awesome. Oh man, I'll tell you, Canada makes you appreciate positive degrees in weather. You know, anything that's above freezing, like today is like 7 degrees here. I've been at -10 to -16 the whole trip. It feels like I'm in the Caribbean.
Yeah, Vancouver, though, to be fair, hardly ever snows, and I'm moving back there. So, but here it's pretty damn cold, eh?
Pretty cold.
So
I even threw an A in there.
You did. A. So next up, you don't even want to know what this next guy's been up to this week in VR. Maybe I'm just hoping that if he gets swatted by the FBI, that it happens live on stream, to make it more entertaining. It's of course Rowdy guy. How you doing, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. The audio listeners now are going like, what happened? I'm not really sure what happened, but I guess more on that later, right? Like a little bit more on that later.
Tease.
Yeah.
Tease. Okay, so if you don't know who I am, my name is Mike, host of the show from Virtual Reality Oasis. In today's show, we're going to be adding more fuel to the fire around the speculation of an upcoming Rift S headset from Oculus. We're going to be talking about the new book from Blake J. Harris called The History of the Future. This is a really cool book. You definitely want to stay tuned for this one. We're going to be giving you details on some releases coming next week. And then finally, we're going to be talking about an upcoming beat rhythm shooter game from Harmonix called Audica. So we've got a busy show for you today. But let's first find out what everyone's been playing in VR this week and their highlight of the week. And of course, let's fire it over to Nathie first to see what he's been up to.
So I played Intruders Hide and Seek. Just came out on PlayStation VR. It's an exclusive for now, but I do have a feeling it's coming to PC later down the road, like almost every developer does nowadays. It's a great deal, I would say. This is basically a Home Alone VR simulator. Let me tell you the story in short. You're basically living in a house together with your parents. You're playing as a little kid. You also have a little sister. And there are a bunch of burglars coming inside, and they are looking for something. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but the power goes out. There's a storm, and it's super dark, and they are looking for you and your parents and your sister, and you constantly need to, try to make your way through the house, crawl through fence, hide behind couches, and go on your own mission. So yeah, it's an exciting title, I would say. Although at the start I was like, I'm not so sure if this game is gonna be any good, because the moment I got out of the cutscene, I fell through the floor of the map, and I was like, well, can happen.
Well, it's
But
part of the
usually, if you
game.
fall through a game, then that sometimes means that it's not that great, because if you can't even get your floor straight, then. But then after that, I played it for like 3 hours maybe, and yeah, it was super solid. It worked fine, so that was just a bug. I don't know why, but I'm usually the one that can get into these weird glitches, and how, I don't know. But it's funny though, because the game is kind of scary. Because I mean, Home Alone was a pretty creepy movie with these burglars. And, yeah, I mean, as a kid, I was like, okay, I don't know, maybe I also have some burglars watching my house. Who knows?
For Nathie, it's like you got like Home Alone, but you got like Resident Evil, and then Nathie is like, yeah, Home
Really
Alone is the
close.
scariest one. Like,
terrifying. Yeah, it's terrifying in their own genre. But where you have this feeling where something creepy is about to happen, but then you fall through the floor. That's like so creepy, because you're like, oh no, wait, what just happened? I had that with horror titles too, where there's like a glitch happening and it makes it even more scary than it should be.
Maybe that's the ultimate hiding place, when you fall through the floor.
That's
They
what I
can't
said
get you
too.
there.
That's what I said too. I was like, I just rebooted the game. I don't want to cheat here. I don't want to get the best hiding place. I will play it fair. That's what I said in the video. So, but yeah, great game. And this was one of those games that I first wanted to play for 20 minutes. Usually I just play the first part and then I stop and I upload it to my channel. But this one the story was so good that I felt like I wanted to finish it. So after 3 hours, I got to the end, and I do feel like at the end it catches up steam and it gets way more interesting than the start. It starts off slow, but it's definitely worth playing, I would say. And again, it might come to PC. I have a feeling it will.
yeah.
The game. Go on, Tim.
All right. I'm just curious because you said hide and seek game, and I've seen trailer for this. Ducking mechanics in that, and did you find any problems with the PSVR? Because that's one of the things that I found. Some titles really underperform on PSVR in terms of giving you that message when you move your head too much.
Well, it's not a physical title. I first played it standing, but then I figured out that it was a seated experience and that standing wasn't working. So yeah, you just have to use the thumbstick to crouch, for example. You can hide under tables, you can hide behind a couch, you can go into closets and stuff like that. It's fairly obvious when you play the game what you have to do later down the road, because the house is jam-packed with closets. It's like an overload of hiding places. I think they could have toned that down a bit and made it harder to play. It's an arcadey survival title.
Now, when you're in those hiding spots, can you look out like from the closet?
Yes. It's like almost like Alien Isolation, but then a more arcade version of that. So yeah, you can, and then sometimes they stand in front of your closet and they're like, "I heard something," but the burglars are not playing around. They are pretty savage in what they do to you. Like I once got knocked out by the burglar because he found me. He just, threw his fist into my face. I'm like a kid of like 10 or 12. I don't know.
I got stabbed in that game. Like, one of the dudes stabbed me.
Get stabbed too. It's horrible.
I think that's the thing. You're a defenseless child. You don't have access to any weapons. You can't fight back in any way.
That's what I do want to say is that I felt like, the hiding mechanics were great, but they could have thrown in a crafting system where you could, for example, find toys and then make a bomb or a trap and kind of, throw
like
it away
MacGyver or something.
Yeah, because the only thing I could do was run away, hide, and that's it. But throwing something to distract them or using a booby trap to slow them down, I don't know, could have been fun in a way.
Nathie basically wanted to be Macaulay Culkin and throw the marbles on the floor.
Just Home Alone.
Kind of looks like him after all, so.
I know who I also look like.
I don't know, too.
Draco Malfoy from Harry Potter.
That's true.
According to Mike, I look like him. If you agree, let us know in the chat.
I'm sure you do. But I also played this game. I also completed it as well. So I think that there is a testament to the game design in that it draws you in to play it until you finish it. Like I played it in one session. So in that, I would say it's got some positives, but it is an indie game after all. Controller over the Move controllers is a bit disappointing. And I did find, I'm not going to spoil the story in any way, but I did find the story got a bit hammy, you know, like a bit obvious later on.
It was.
But overall, you know, I thought it was fun for what it was. But overall, as a hide and seek game, I think Alien Isolation still does a better job.
Yeah, but that's, if you want to play Alien Isolation, you gotta use a mod on PC to play it in VR, and on PlayStation you can't do that. To add something else to that, I would also say that the voice acting wasn't that good. I felt like that also killed it a bit for me. And yeah, sometimes you have the story being too obvious and you're like, I know what's going to happen next. But there are also moments where you're like, I know what's going to happen. And then suddenly it's something else. So there are moments where the story goes like completely nuts. That's what I said. Like at the end, it catches up. So I think at the start, it's a bit, you know, cheap. But then later on, it does pick up. It almost feels like at the start they were kind of, you know, learning how to build this game, and then later, like, yeah, we now know how we gotta do it. So yeah. I
was wondering, is the developer? Do we know, are they North America based? I only say that
they
because
are Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Because usually European games and game design and stuff, it doesn't tend to spoon feed you as much. But I find North American content tends to be a little bit more spoon fed.
I am happy we could like talk about this game on the podcast, because I do feel like the launch window wasn't great. I felt like that week when it came out wasn't the best time to do it. I mean, there are so many titles launching at the moment. It had a silent launch. I felt like I didn't see that many people talk about it or cover it or do anything with it. So hopefully after this podcast, people on PlayStation VR are gonna check it out.
We mentioned it last week as well. So you know, I'm sure they got quite some coverage. I actually did see a lot of reviews on it, and a lot of review sites on it as well. So I don't know how many sales they had, of course, but yeah.
But one of the things we covered on before was the PSVR store, just the PlayStation 4 store, it does a great job of hiding some titles. But there are some things still today. I go explore the store, and I'm like, I never saw that.
That's
and also,
right.
It's regional. Like Sprint Vector, which when it launched in the US market, it actually featured on the store here. In Europe, it didn't even show. It was just buried in the library, and the team Servius.
In the first place, they should not hide the PSVR section, because it's all the way down and no one really knows about it. And
Exactly.
then demos of that is even harder. So they just need to make it easier to find.
Yeah. So that is Intruders. So what about you two guys then? What did you both play? I'm intrigued to know.
You've probably been too busy trying to sell it.
Well, no, but you go first.
All right.
Yeah.
So poker VR, basically. I've been itching for poker so much. We had plans to go to a casino here. Didn't quite manage it because of the weather. Unfortunately, got nuked on Thursday. But I've just been playing tons of poker VR, because it's still, for me, and I've been trawling for other things, and I've played a few kind of one-timers. But I wanted to say that again, because community, easy to drop in, easy to grab a tournament, which you can't do in PokerStars. And ability to connect with friends of mine who are on Rift or are on Go. It's like a great cross section. It's kind of like the rec room of Oculus Go, and that's what I like about it.
So I'd be interested to know, because we talked about this last week on the show whilst you was away, that we tried a Monopoly, and being a social experience, it basically overheated our Go. So I'd be interested to know if you have the same issue using Poker VR being a social application.
No, I get a good kind of hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. I don't think it's because it's social. I think that Monopoly, I tried it as well, and my God, it tanks fast. I mean, I was at 30% battery, dead in 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, I think the game needs some serious software optimization, because clearly that thing is either got a memory leak or something going on that's just dumping, and it just lights the Go up to the point where it is baking hot. Let alone that game is bloody confusing. I couldn't figure it out, but I did try going against the bots after a while. Gave up.
So what about you, Epyx?
Yeah, for me, as he was saying, I'm selling this house here. We actually sold it. So I've had to take down most of my Vive and Rift stuff. So what I've been doing is going back to Old Faithful, which is Elite Dangerous, because it's nice and quick. I can put my HOTAS up, one camera, and I'm good to go. So that's been pretty much when I have played, it's been Elite Dangerous.
Nice. And like, I'd be interested to know, because like having no experience with Elite Dangerous whatsoever, like, and maybe some people in the chat are the same as well, but what's your sort of draw to this game? Because so many people love and adore this game and they keep going back to it over and over again.
For me, the biggest thing, and it goes back to when I was a kid, I wanted to be a space cadet, not the mental variety, but I honestly thought we'd be flying spaceships by now, right? For me,
Huge disappointment.
It is the fantasy of being in a spaceship. When you put on the VR HMD and you look around the cockpit of your ship, pancake gaming, it's just so much better. Cockpit in VR is such a natural fit to begin with. And when you're sitting in your cockpit and you're sitting in real life, I've got my HOTAS set up. So where my hands are in game, they're exactly in the same spot. So the immersion is just amazing. And the freedom, some people don't like grindy games. I love it. It's the freedom to go and do whatever I want, whenever I want, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, it's that kind of game.
Nice.
I'm so glad you're saying that, man, because I was planning a week of Elite Dangerous because I owe it to one of my earlier viewers to like do that when I go back. Right. So I forgot that you were into it so much. We got to do some.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. I know people. I remember seeing a video once of people watching videos in their cockpit whilst playing Elite Dangerous. So they were watching movies whilst doing space stuff.
And the other thing, Mike, is you can set it up, and this is how I've got it set up, using voice commands, right?
Right.
So you've got the HOTAS, and every function in that ship that's not timing sensitive, like deploy, landing gear, all of that is voice automated. So you get this feeling of literally being in a spaceship.
I would go so far as to say setting something like a voice attack up is almost mandatory. There are two, like unless you got one of those like Naga like 60 button combinations for Warcraft mice,
exactly,
you will not have enough buttons to push.
That's right.
To be able to control the game. That game, before they accordioned the controls, you could scroll down it for almost a solid 60 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And you have to go through and configure. Like, it probably took me about 4 hours to configure the game, all the button mapping and combos when I first started. It's a lot easier now.
It is.
And they've made it a lot more intuitive. But my God, there was not a game I've played that even has a quarter of the length of the options in that game, controls-wise. It is insane.
And it seems daunting, but you adapt really quick. Yeah.
Once you learn it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. I'd love to know in the chat as well, like what everyone has been playing in the chat, but also if there's any Elite fans out there, I'd love to know. So let's pass it over to Rowdy, and let's talk about what you played this week.
No, the thing I actually wanted to highlight was Sam and Dan Floaty VR, Floaty Flatmates. I played together with a friend of mine, and it was actually one of the first co-op games in virtual reality that I thought was really original. So I played that one. If people want to check it out, it's a free title on the Steam store, so that's actually fairly nice. It's called Sam and Dan Floaty Flatmates. Definitely check it out. And then the game that everyone wants to hear is, well, it's not really a game, I would say. It's more like an experience, like they call it on there. It's called Tsun Tsun, if I pronounce it correctly. And it's basically you being poked by a girl. And when I got into the game, I realized, after Mike's recommendation, by the way, everyone, it was Mike who recommended this game to me. I got the tweet. I can show it to you.
That's the one you kept tweeting me, Mike. Right?
It's basically a girl that is far too young to be poking a mature and adult man even in virtual reality. It felt very, very wrong, and I know that some of us have tried it as well. I'm not gonna call any names, Mike. But what did you think of it?
So let's give it some context, because there's only one reason why we tried this game, and that is because it's got native V-haptic support.
Of course.
It's one of those rare games that you can actually have a character interact with you and feel it. And although it's completely weird, very disturbing that you're being touched by a girl. In my case, it was like a demon girl. It's very uncomfortable and strange, but it's a good demo of how the vest works. But what I was surprised was how you managed to stretch that out to 7 minutes of content.
Yeah, like it just happened. Like
I digress. But how did you feel like with these sort of rumbles, the haptics? Because I found that you could even turn around and the haptics.
I did that as well. Yeah. Trust me, I did everything you could do in that game. Otherwise I would never have gotten it to 7 minutes. I wanted to get it to 10 minutes. To please the YouTube algorithm, but no, that didn't work. But no, I tried turning around. I didn't find it that impressive because the girl, like, she doesn't move towards you or something. So she just, if you're not standing close enough to her, she will still poke you. You just won't feel it. She will just do the same kind of poking gesture the entire time. So that was kind of weird. And when you turn around, you feel it in your back indeed. And then all of a sudden, like, for whatever reason, she starts hugging you and you feel like that she's, her arms is like wrapping around you. Then did she bring out the toy with you?
Yeah. I didn't show that in my video though because I thought it was too much.
What is that about? I showed everything. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it.
It makes you feel quite uncomfortable, that experience.
Yes,
and for some reason, Haptics promoted it the other day.
That's also what I thought. It can't be that bad. I thought it has to be a decent virtual reality experience. And wow.
Where's the one for the ladies? Is what I want to know. All the little.
Oh, trust me, that toy was not for men. That toy was not for men. The thing that she pulled out. Trust me on that one.
But no, I'm really curious about something that I think Nathie dropped in Twitter about a week ago, which is that the Haptics Fest got an update so that you can use all audio sources, very similar to like a sub pack where you're driving it off of the bassy tones. Have any of you experimented with that? Because I'm quite curious.
I played it with we talked about that actually last time, I think last week that we played it with Beat Saber to see how that will work. But I think Mike brought up something really valid there as well, because with the sub pack, it's more like the subwoofers, and the amount of vibration that you feel is probably a lot more because you get like more of the bass. While this is more directed movements and maybe less intense. You can get it fairly intense, and you can really feel it. For me, it doesn't need to be more intense than that. But I think like a sub pack is maybe more suitable for audio experiences, because you only get like that beat, and like it's a subwoofer that's pushing it. It's maybe more the feeling of like how a music speaker would feel like if you're standing in front of it. While this one is it's more direct and more precise and more weird.
We need to do like a wife swap equivalent with the packs, you know. I'll ship Mike my sub pack. Send me his Haptics Vest and see how they compare.
I'd love to compare them, definitely, because a lot of people ask that question because it is like the direct competitor in terms of product, I guess.
Right. I'd be curious what the results. Absolutely, if you guys can.
So, do you guys want to know what the people in the chat played?
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, we have Watauk, who played Assassin's Creed and Metro Exodus, and he finally got to play Sorrento VR.
Oh, nice.
Then we have Delwonk. I hope I pronounce this right. I'm not butchering your name. I went to Vegas and played The Void, the Star Wars one.
Nice.
Les started a career on Project Cars 2.
I've been trying to start a career.
And then last but not least, there is one from Eric. Oh, here it is. I played a lot of Monopoly Deal in Oculus rooms.
A lot, like 20-minute sessions.
It. I like playing it on my own. Well, I only can play it on my own because everyone else's goes overheat, but I think it's nice.
Doesn't it affect you over though when it's like I need to pay a $1 million bill for rent, and all I've got is $5 million to give them? Like,
it sucks. Yeah, it sucks.
That's terrible. It's like the game mechanic forces. It's like no one in the real mind would ever do that.
Exactly.
Like, what do I have? Bonds? Do I have like a stack of bonds that I'm shoving over to Mike?
You've got to put money in your bank to protect yourself, you know. But this week, I played a fair bit. I completed Intruders, of course. Played some other games, but the one I want to talk about is Profundum. It's a puzzle game. I think I've talked about it on the show very briefly before, but it's basically a series of escape rooms with a kind of steampunk style to it. It's kind of like an indie game, but what sets this puzzle game apart from all the other kind of puzzle games and room escape games is they've got some really nice like physics in this game when it comes to like chains and cogs and things like that. Like I've never seen a game that does it so well, where you can actually pick up and manipulate a chain, which is
nice,
really complicated, and then actually wrap it around a cog and then pull it to then wrap it around another cog to then create a mechanical machine.
Anyone else want a Hitman game now? Because I kind of just wanted it.
Or
garrote.
A chain garrote, like just pull the old Italian lady down.
Or what was that Wii game? Godfather was another one where you did that strangle. And
it's very rare. It's very rare.
I don't know if you could do that with your Wii modes, but
the nice thing about the about the Vive controls that you already have like the little wire on the end of them, so you can just use that. Like...
Oh, exactly. That's right.
But no, I thought it was a really cool little puzzle design. You know, using that mechanic to sort of build these little mechanical machines up to move on to the next room. I'm probably about an hour into it. I think it's about 3 hours long in total. But yeah, it's a short, sweet little game. Nice little clever puzzle design. So if puzzlers are your bag, then you might sort of get something out of this one. But I'm looking forward to going back and playing some more of that. So that's pretty much my highlight of the week this week.
It's on Steam, is it, Mike?
On Steam, yeah. It's not on Oculus Store. I don't know if it will be coming to Oculus Store. But yeah, it's in early access, I guess. So maybe they're polishing it up to bring it to other platforms in the future.
Nice.
Nice, though. Yeah, we featured it a couple of weeks ago. It's cool.
Does it?
Yeah. So that's what we played this week and what everyone in the chat played this week as well. So let's move into some quick news. And first up, your favorite over-the-top VR game is back with an update of monumental proportions. And this is, of course, Gorn. Now they're sort of getting closer to a final full release because they're still in early access. The devs' free lives are pouring blood, sweat, and tears into polishing the existing content and improving the game experience for new players as well. And I've kind of like dipped in and out of Gorn, only sort of to try it out. I've never really spent any real time in it. But I didn't realize that it's got a campaign almost now, you know, that you've got weapons to unlock, you've got boss fights and stuff now. So they've really added a lot of content to this game. And in this most recent update, they've also added a death pit full of spikes. So now you can do that kind of Mortal Kombat thing where you pick up your enemy and just throw it over into the pit and it kind of finishes them off.
No. 300, Mike. 300. It's no longer Mortal Kombat. They've been usurped. Now it's like, I mean, you go, this is...
Yeah.
Well, Mike, do you also know, because you didn't know this had a campaign, do you also know that you need to hide your TV and screens and certain valuable things?
Oh yeah.
Playing?
We've seen so many posts on Reddit and Twitter and everywhere else about Gorn, people just destroying their houses. And this is what I was going to get to, because, you know, they've added these updates, you know, they've got new performance updates, voiceovers, and all this other bits and pieces. And one thing I really hope for this game is that now they've kind of got it into a full package, that they release it on the Quest when that comes out. I was kind of thinking in my mind.
That'd be awesome, though.
Mind, like having tetherless VR and then having access to this game is so freaking dangerous. People are just going to like take the headset off and just realize that their house is like on fire.
Dude, last week, like on the birthday party of my brother, there was someone like, yeah, I saw that one Gladiator game, and like the person just played Beat Saber. Like, I would love to play that. I'm like, you know what? Not in my living room. People get so... I showed a few people Gorn for the first time, and they were just slamming their controllers against the walls. Like, if you show a game to people for the first time, don't let it be Gorn, okay? It's not responsible to do that.
No, you're right.
And don't do it after watching certain movies. There's a category of Japanese films that I absolutely love. They're the splatter gore films. Story of Rikio, Tokyo Gore Police, Machine Girl. It's over-the-top violence, which is exactly what Gorn is. So the two should never be mixed in a room setting like Nathie just mentioned. Things will get destroyed.
And I didn't know you was a big fan of that sort of like anime and that sort of genre, but you might be interested to know. I tweeted about it this week. There is a new series coming to Netflix called Robots, Love and Violence or something like that. It's coming on mid-March.
Love, Death, Robots. Love, Death, Robots.
Look at the Animatrix.
Yeah, exactly.
If you haven't seen the Animatrix, and I really like the Animatrix actually. If anyone hasn't, you're like a Matrix fan,
but that kind of aesthetic,
and you missed it, because I think it would be really easy to have missed the Animatrix if you weren't, if you weren't keeping your eyes open in the 6 months when it launched. You would have missed it. But it's like all these little like samplers, short stories in all different styles. computer graphics and then hand drawn and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's very cool. And this looks awesome, Mike. But funnily enough, the title to me just reminded me of this old school game called Murder, Death, Kill. That's not what it stood for, but it was MDK. I can't remember. It was a PlayStation game, I think.
Exactly. It was. It was.
Nice. So that's the update on Gorn, and we've got some more updates as well because we've got an update from Bigscreen. We've been waiting a long time for an update from Bigscreen, and they were kind of a bit silent for a little while, but they dropped a huge update this week, and it seems like everything in Bigscreen has been like redesigned from the ground up. We've now got new environments which you can teleport and move around in. We've got a new avatar customization which has added beards, which is brilliant for me. They've got a new audio driver, new UI, and also we found out that Bigscreen is going to be coming to the Quest as well, so that's really cool. I jumped in and checked out the update this week and checked out the new lobby, because basically the lobby is now a big social area where you can just gather with people and just meet up and chat, and then you can go into like cinema rooms and hang out and watch movies or play games with your friends. But the cinema looks great now. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's basically like a new curved sort of seating layout with a much bigger screen now. And everything just looks super nice. The UI is really nice and intuitive to use. And also they've added real-time ray tracing technology for better lighting effects in the cinemas as well, which is really, really cool. And it's not exclusive to RTX cards owners. This is for everyone on mobile platforms as well.
Software, exactly.
So the last update, they were bringing like movies to big screen. Are they doing that with this update as well? Because they were, going to do premieres on certain like movies, like Top Gun, for example. That was like their big example of what they were going to.
Exactly. So I think this update is gearing up for that. Now they've got all the PCVR owners in on it. They've got Go owners, now Quest owners coming soon. I think this is what they're gearing up for, to finally release this kind of update where we're going to do, weekly or fortnightly movie releases where you can pay for your ticket and then go and watch a movie with your friends or family and hang out in VR. But also the social aspect was such an important part of it, I feel, being able to meet up in the lobby before a movie is about to start and get everyone excited about this film and talk about it afterwards as well is a big reason why I think they did this.
I really hope that that big screen will be kind of like the new Oculus venues and just cater to everyone in the world with movies, where Europeans can join Americans and everyone can go in there, instead of, because I remember with Top Gun it was US only. So I couldn't join, or I have to get a VPN maybe, but I really hope they can actually break through that and get licenses that work for everyone in that sense. Also, quickly going back to Gorn, I am Ruud says, it doesn't have to be a violent game. My daughter punched my 4K TV while delivering Santa packages in Richie's Plank experience.
Oh my God.
Man.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but I would say probably the two worst offenders, I don't know what you guys think, it would be Gorn and the drunken bar fighting one.
Oh, yeah, true.
Sure.
I was going to say, so big screen, similar to what Nathie's saying, it would be great if the legal side, in terms of multi-regional support for licensing wasn't a problem, because it's going to be a problem. I think it's only going to get worse, honestly, with legislation the way it's going.
Agreed.
Both in North America and Europe. But that said, you can see where these guys would absolutely kill it. Who wouldn't go for a digital release of a film where you could show up with some friends? Now, at the moment, I think we still have the 4-user restriction when watching a film, or they, like RiffMax, fill a cinema now? Because if they can do that, they are, they've already got the software stack across all these headsets. Now they just need to break that legal barrier.
Yeah, it's way more users. I think it was about 20 users when I checked it out last. It could be more now that they've done this update, but they released, I think it was Stargate, an episode of the reboot of Stargate, and that was available worldwide, so anyone could jump in. And I tried it out, and it worked flawlessly. So I'm really looking forward to this, but I think the biggest selling point that people don't understand about this is watching 3D movies is like next level in VR. Like if you watch a 3D movie in VR, it's incredible. Way better than any experience you can experience on your TV with 3D glasses. So that's going to be super interesting.
That reminds me of RiffMax Theater, where you were watching this Michael Jackson experience. There was like mist coming out of the screen, and there were like zombies everywhere. And then you were, for example, like watching a 3D SeaWorld movie. And then, there was water suddenly everywhere, and people started to also talk with bubbles around them. And
Isn't it
4D, that was more like 4D in a way.
It was 4D, yeah, that's how they marketed it. But like the Thriller experience for Michael Jackson, which was 4D, awesome. I loved that as well, where you get the actual 3D effect like you normally would if you were sitting in a 3D cinema, plus all these environmental effects. But the thing that just does my head in is it's been 5 years since that essentially kind of tech demo was put together, and we still don't have that same ability for like us to just jump in and watch a film of our choosing legally, or even pay a multi-person ticket and do that together. And that's where I think, their business model has to be headed that way.
I would take what you were saying, Mike, even a step further. I think that experience, that 3D in VR, is better than the 3D in a theater experience. I mean, you've got that comfort level, right, that you just can't replicate. You're sitting with a bunch of other people in a theater. All that comes along with that compared to just in the comfort of your home or wherever. It's amazing. It really is.
What I'm really looking forward to is where they take it to another level. So, say you're watching Jurassic Park and then like a dinosaur pops up in the theater somewhere, or, you could have it so, the director could give a speech at the beginning of every movie, like it's being presented by them, but it's just replicated over and over again in multiple rooms with all these groups of people watching the film.
I know what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to pop up a little menu in VR and be like, yeah, order that Domino's pizza, thanks. And then
exactly.
My house, like, I run down, like grab it, go back into my Rift, whatever, like, yeah, just think of how chilled out you'd be.
That would be
I
awesome.
can't wait. The day is coming.
So there you go, big screen. You need to implement Domino's pizza ordering in the UI and then give them that sort of, Amazon access to your door so they can just bring it up to your lap. Yeah. So that is big screen. Some awesome updates. So go and check it out. It's completely free and available on every platform. So the next bit of quick news is about the Samsung Odyssey, because we had an amazing deal for this headset this week. And if you're not familiar with the Odyssey and the Odyssey Plus, they're amazing mixed reality headsets, and in my opinion, the best you can buy out of the Windows mixed reality lineup. I'm a kind of advocate of them now, having been converted by them, having a bad experience with Windows.
Honestly, to hype this even more up, I think it's one of the best headsets you can buy right now.
Agreed. Like, the display is incredible, and for the price, which I'm going to get onto, this headset was reduced 50% off. Directly available through the Samsung website, and it was brought down to $249, which is an incredible deal for this headset, because if you think about it, it's got the same
Odyssey Plus. Sorry,
I think it's not the Plus, right? Just the Odyssey.
Original Odyssey, which some people even say is better than the Plus because they prefer the clarity over the screen rather than this kind of blurred effect.
Exactly.
But yeah, so they were selling this on their website, and I was like, this is a great deal. The display is the same pretty much as the one in the Vive Pro, which would be 4 times as much as the price at this price, the deal. So I was like, I'm going to jump on this. I'm going to get this headset. So I took advice from many people and said, use Big Apple Buddy. You can buy products through them. They're kind of... If you've got products that are limited to the US, they'll ship them out worldwide, basically. So you contact them and say, this is the product that I want, and they'll give you a quote. And that's exactly what I did. I said, this is the link to the site. This is the headset that I want. And they got back to me around sort of 8 hours later, and they said, the Samsung Odyssey is available on our store. You can just buy it straight from us. So I was like, okay, cool. And of course, when I went to their store, they didn't have the deal on. So it was the full retail price. And I was like, hang on a minute, I want to buy it at this deal price. Here's the link again. Please just give me what I want and what I asked for the first time. And they got back to me again. And by the time they got back to me, the deal had already elapsed.
Oh, wow.
So I missed out on it, which I was kind of disappointed.
Oh, that sucks.
So
Why do we still need to import this headset in Europe?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Where is it? Where is it? It could be in the stores right now. It's been, how long has it been out? I think I bought an Odyssey like a year ago or even longer. I don't know what's going on. They need to approve HMDs before they get into like Europe, right? But I don't know. Like Samsung, what is Samsung doing? Are they?
Yeah, right after marketing, it's poor distribution that's been the bane of VR pretty much since the beginning. Agreed. It's so frustrating.
I remember European countries that doesn't, like, if you're in Portugal, it's like, how do I get a freaking VR headset? You can't even get a Rift or whatever. It's like, you're screwed.
Are the other mixed reality headsets getting sold in Europe right now? Is there? Yeah. So we're
Odyssey is the only one.
it's so strange. And I remember when mixed reality just got like launched, they wanted to try it in America. You know, it was like a pilot thing, but it's been longer than a year now. So I think they should sell the Odyssey here, but maybe they don't see the interest right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they do have the numbers of how many people buy MR headsets also here in Europe. I don't know. I always feel like Europe needs more. There needs to be more VR marketing here. The only one that is doing it is Sony, because I mean, a lot of Europeans own a PlayStation. That's no secret. But every time I see like a commercial, it's US only. Like the Oculus Go commercials that Facebook made, they are not getting sent out here on TV. The only thing I see on TV here is PlayStation VR sometimes, but it's rare. But that's the only thing I see. I've never seen an Oculus Rift commercial. I've never seen a Vive commercial. I've never seen a mixed reality commercial. I've never seen any other VR commercial. The only thing they mostly sell here are those garbage, cheap, like headsets where you can slide your phone in with those bad lenses. So there is some work to do. It's mainly like US only with like marketing. And that's why Europe is also kind of behind. And that's why there are more people in the US owning a headset, as far as I know. I don't know the exact numbers, but although PlayStation VR is like 4 million users. So I'm sure a lot of people, like most people I know here in Europe, own a PSVR and not a, let's say, PC VR headset.
Right, but how much of that is due to just poor marketing?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Exactly.
I don't know, but I feel like there's some work to be done there. And Samsung, just give it a try, see what happens. And the Odyssey is welcome, especially here. We don't want to import it. It's so expensive. Even with this cheap deal going on of $250, you still need to pay a lot of money. Yeah. Like I don't know how much I paid, like almost like $600 to import it when it just came out. It's crazy, but hey.
Yeah. I think the import was going to be about $50 to $60 US, if not more. But like I said, I didn't get the opportunity to do it. But let me know in the chat if you did end up picking up this deal. I'd love to know if you're in Europe and you jumped on this one.
That's frustrating, by the way.
That is frustrating.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a missed opportunity, indeed.
Yeah, so let's pass it over to Rowdy to find out about the games that you should check out in VR next week. We've got a couple of cool ones actually to talk about this week, so I'm looking forward to you giving us all the details, Rowdy, on these ones.
Yeah, all right. It's actually like I had to like do a little bit of research this time to find like some good titles. I didn't want to bring in the trash again, so I found like a few titles that were coming out next week. First up was ChromaGun. That is a game that is actually already out for a while on PlayStation regularly, but they apparently are about to release a VR edition as well, or a VR update of it. It's available for $14.99, and it's coming out on the 19th of February, and I have a trailer of it ready, which I'm going to start now. So that the game is basically a color-based puzzle shooter in which you need to navigate test chambers by painting walls and droids using your excellent preschool color mixing skills. So I don't know if any of you have ever like played this game, but
I actually played it this week. I got a key for it, and I thought, I'll check this one out. Used the PS Aim controller as well, so I was like, this is kind of cool. And when you're in that kind of world and you've got this controller in your hand, I was getting these kind of Portal vibes. And it's very basic, but it was kind of fun. I didn't feel like I wanted to create any content around it, but I had a little bit of fun with the game where I played, maybe about half an hour, 40 minutes of it. But it's you just mix the colors, like they said. Preschool, got to make sure you mix the right ones to open doors and stuff like that.
Yeah,
this one has been in development for quite a while. I remember seeing a video back in the days when they were playing with the DK2 and an Xbox controller playing it. So they have come a long way.
I can remember getting a key for this thing about a year and a half, maybe even 2 years ago. It's like nuts. And I don't mean on PlayStation. I'm on PC. It was across Steam. But at the time, it was pretty limited what you could do. I mean, there was a couple of kind of intro bits where you're playing against bots, I think it was, that were kind of telling you how to work with the gun that you had. And but it was a Portal vibe, I would say. It's kind of like one of those games that is borrowing from that kind of flavor. So
all right,
there you go.
Cool. Next, of course, is Dick Wilde. It's releasing on the 19th as well for PlayStation VR, HTC Vive, and Oculus. I didn't find a price yet. I don't know if you guys have actually looked at that or like found a price. I haven't found a price yet. We've talked about this game, I think, last week as well, but I'll reiterate what we said. So Dick Wilde 2 takes us to a host of new places, of which have been affected by the massive outbreak of toxic spillage, creating a foul sludge that has mutated the local wildlife into the most darn tootin' vicious critters ever seen by the river folk. Faced with this gravest challenge yet, Exterminator Extraordinary Dick Wilde has enlisted the help of 2 promising apprentices ready to fight the deadly ooze. So,
Nice.
have you guys played have all of you played the original Dick Wilde?
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun title.
like-
I really had a lot of
I
fun
think
with
we
that one.
mentioned this last week about using the aim controller for the original game, and
Yeah.
I never played it with the aim controller, but I'm very tempted to play this one on the PSVR with the aim controller over using PCVR headsets.
Yeah.
for that very reason.
Ah, cool.
Yeah.
Also, coming back to the price, the first one right now is around $20, and I do expect the second one to be maybe 20, 25. I think that would be.
But has
fair
it
price.
decreased in price maybe? Because I found the first one's price as well, but I didn't know like what the release price of that one was exactly.
I don't know. Like right now it's 15, but I feel
Yeah.
like it's gonna be 20, 25. I don't know.
Okay,
We'll see.
All
But
right.
this one I'm looking forward to the most next week, actually, out of all the
Dick
games, I
Wilde,
think.
yeah?
Yeah.
We got a Dick Wilde fan, boys. And then next up we have Shadow Legend VR. I got that one up here as well. Just give me a moment. There we go. So this one is an action RPG exclusively designed for virtual reality, where you play as the Grand Master of the Knights Templar in a story-driven medieval crusade. Freely explore density-filled worlds and use your sword, bow, and magic skills to save your kingdom from the destruction of Lord Azeroth. It's coming out for the HTC Vive, Oculus, and Windows Mixed Reality on the 21st of February. Looks cool.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know, like in the trailer, they're like feeding a horse with carrots and stuff like that. I like that kind of attention to details. They're baking burgers and like all kind of weird stuff. But I don't really know what the gameplay is like. So yeah, we'll have to see that.
This is interesting because this game has been made by Blake, and he also worked on Marvels.
Oh, yes.
That game.
Ah,
That was
okay,
a
okay.
very, like an open world RPG, a platformer, very indie. But going from that cute little project to this is a big step. So I'm curious how much. It feels like he learned a lot along the way and is now going to the next level. So
Yeah. Nice. And then the final title that I thought was worth mentioning is Final Assault, coming out for the HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and for Windows Mixed Reality. I didn't find a price for it though, so you guys have to apologize me for that. It is an action-packed World War II themed RTS that capitalizes on the power of virtual reality. Command massive ground battles as the skies erupt in dynamic dogfights. Combat requires quick thinking and fast reflexes. Fight the battle and win the war. That's the tagline.
I would say if you liked Out of Ammo, then you should try this out. Although it's not having this first-person mode that you had in Out of Ammo,
Okay,
where you can
okay.
switch. So
Yeah.
it's third-person only.
So I also played this one this week. I just realized I played a lot this week. But the thing is, the thing that drew me to this game was I'm a big RTS fan. So like Command and Conquer back in the day, StarCraft, I love those games. And I was a big fan of Brass Tactics as well when that came out. So this kind of like really piqued my interest. But sadly, it doesn't have the depth of those games. There isn't any base building, and they're basically, you can only direct troops through certain lanes, so you don't have freedom to direct them wherever you want. So I did find it kind of restrictive, and it's kind of like a baby's RTS, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if that's kind of your bag, then fine. But for me, it's
You wanted something a bit meatier, and it didn't do it.
Red
Yeah,
alert.
absolutely.
Right.
Red alert. We want red alert in VR. Exactly.
Well, as far as I know, like Draco was like around 12 years old in the first movie, so I could play this.
Baby RTS is right up your street, Nathie, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Any more releases, Rowdy?
I know that Xing released last week as well. Is it pronounced
That was
Xing
PSVR.
actually, or is it Xing?
Well, Zim says crossing, don't you?
Yes, crossing the land.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's been out for HTC Vive and for Oculus for a while, right? I mean, this is not a new title, but it's now coming out for PlayStation VR. So, since it came out last week, I didn't include it into the official list.
Nice and sharp. Definitely one like don't pass it up. I'd say if you're into hard puzzlers with gorgeous scenery, then crossing the thing is a great.
I really hope they will do well on the PlayStation platform. They had like a very rough launch on PC, very rough.
Okay. Quite protracted, I would say. Like I feel like their sales, like they were doing pretty well in terms of hitting top 20 on Steam for sales in a lot of their sale times for the last like year and a half. But in terms of going 1.0, like now that it's on the PlayStation Store, that's a great place to launch. And to be honest, the game is, although it's quite pretty, it's quite low poly. So it should run great.
Performance friendly.
Yeah.
The thing with this title is
that is selling very well right now is Epyx Construct, because Apex Legends launched. Yeah. And then since it's on Origin, right?
Yes.
People were looking for it on Steam too. And the only game there is called Apex Construct, that VR game, the bow and arrow title from Fast Travel Games. Yeah. So their sales went up
4,000%. 4,000%. Well,
yes.
I don't know if it's really sales, but visits. Visits went up 4,000%, but also they had a lot of negative reviews because people would buy the game and then say, "This is not the game I wanted," and they had like a lot of negative reviews regarding that, which is of course completely ridiculous because.
Do you know what this demonstrates? There is so many freaking idiots out there.
Exactly.
And really, should that warrant a negative review because you're the guy who made the bad decision?
Yeah. But the bad review should be on you, dude, not the store.
Honestly, isn't it smart as a developer to pick a name that comes close to one of the bigger behemoths to kind of get into the right search results the first time you launch your game?
I think because I read the post on Reddit as well. I think the guy who wrote it there, Andreas, he said that they made just as many sales in the last 7 months in China or in another Asian country in 7 days than they did in entire year of 2018.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But there you go. You got the language barrier as well, so people would misunderstand.
Of course, that's probably what is causing it.
If it's not your native language, like you're going to end up searching.
If it was China, then how did they get access to Origin? So I mean, then they go to Steam straight away to try to find it there. So
I'm noticing a funny trend here. Like every time I take a holiday of like more than a week, something blows up on Twitch in a huge way, and Apex Legends is one of those. The last time it was bloody VR chat went away, and it was like, and it just this seems to be a trend. It's fun.
Insane. So let's move on to some topics then. And first up, let's talk about Rift S again. Because I say again, because we talked about it originally back in November. So if you're watching the show back then, you probably remember us talking about it because there was around that sort of time, there was articles from TechCrunch reporting about Brendan Uribe leaving Oculus and also this Rift S rumor. And basically this Rift S was apparently the reason why Brendan Uribe left, because in his own words, he didn't want to have a race to the bottom in terms of lowering specs, and he wanted to focus on a true next iteration of the Rift. And of course, this was all speculation. We said it was speculation back then. We still don't have any solid details to this day. However, we're still getting a little bit more in terms of snippets from other people. And now this time Upload have kind of found some bits and pieces within the PC Oculus software that would point to this next headset, whether it's called the Rift S, whatever it may be. But the things that they found two main things, which I'll talk about. And the first thing is that they found a setting in the software that allows a user to select between 50 hertz and 60 hertz room lighting. So basically in the US and Europe, we have different frequencies for lighting. And this can affect tracking, particularly for inside-out tracking. And this is why this is so important, because the kind of rumors suggest that this Rift S is going to use the Oculus Insight system, which is now going to be on Quest. Completely inside-out tracking. You don't need these constellation trackers anymore. All going to be built into the headset. So this is why this is kind of important, and this is why it's interesting that it's being found in the PC code. So that's number one. The second one is that they found that whatever this new headset might be is not going to have a physical IPD adjustment, and it seems it's going to be a software IPD. Yeah. Which is again strange because obviously from Rift and Quest we know that it's going to have a manual IPD slider for adjustment. So what do you guys think of this then? These new kind of snippets, these new rumors that are coming to surface now about this Rift S headset?
Love it. I love it. I think it all locks in and makes sense with the kind of rumor mill that we've had so far. I still want that headset, and I still feel a bit of a vacuum in 2019 of like something to get excited for in the PC.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I still.
How are you with Quest? Is that something you're?
Oh yeah, Quest is great for what it is.
Right.
But it's not gonna replace my day-to-day Rift.
Exactly.
And that's what I want. I'm absolutely itching at this point, 2.5 years in.
Yeah.
I want to replace my now crusty, overused Rift.
Yeah. I did see people on the Oculus subreddit saying like, yeah, please bring a new like updated Rift because mine is falling apart. So
it's been a long time now, right? It's been a long time since the original Rift launched, and if you're still holding on to your original headset,
we're heading to 3 years now. So
it's seen some action.
Who has had a physical part of their Rift break?
Yeah, I have. Yeah,
physical part.
Like the Velcro or the stitching, has that come off? Because I had to restitch that onto mine because it was gone.
That's a new one.
Yeah.
Because the old one was all threaded.
Mine is actually fine. I don't know, but the only thing that I do actually always kind of have to get replaced are the cables. Like I'm a cable eater, but the headset itself is fine. I do feel like every time, because I think this is my third Rift now. It's not because I'm getting a replaced one, and sometimes it's nice to have a new one and kind of have the cables straightened and stuff like that. But what I do notice every time I'm using a Rift for a few months, the front starts to decolorize a little bit, and I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it's the sun shining on that, but that's something I noticed. But it doesn't have any effect on the gameplay, so that's good. But I do notice it always like kind of becoming some kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah. The thing is, like with these sort of fresh rumors, it kind of got me thinking about this Rift S. And obviously this week I did a lot of research about the Oculus Quest. I did like a roundup video of all the details of it. And it kind of got me thinking that if they took the design and specification of the Quest and then just basically removed the Snapdragon processor and then had a cable to your PC and that was the processing power from your PC, then it could be legit, right? Like, it could use the Quest inside out tracking. The Quest has got a higher resolution display than Rift. It's using a panel that's 1440 by 1600 pixels per eye, whereas Rift is using a 1080 by 1200 pixels per eye. So it's a big jump in resolution, still using an OLED panel. But it would kind of make sense that they use the same form factor, same inside out tracking, but they just tether it to a PC instead of being inside all the headsets.
Oculus basically making their own mixed reality HMD in a way.
Exactly. And the thing is, you can understand why, because, setting up sensors for someone that's very new to VR is a bit of a minefield. It's a pain in the ass and it's a hassle. Whereas, especially if you have to set it up and put it down each time, like I couldn't even imagine what life like that would be like. I'm very fortunate to be in a position where it's just constantly set up, but I know that's not probably what the majority of people out there have.
But also the worst piece of software at Oculus in the last 2 years has been the camera setup. Who can get through the camera setup in one go?
Especially that rear diagonal one.
I look forward to that being gone. That is the number one. Rowdy, just a quick thing. I think there's a scene problem.
I know. I can't fix it. I've been trying it for the entire stream, so I'm just ignoring it.
Or what? Just so people know.
Like you're saying.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to add to what Mike was saying, and or even a hybrid the other way. Keep the Snapdragon and add the ability to add a cable. Maybe.
to manufacture these sensors as well. Like it could be $250 to $300, and I think as a step forward, that is quite nice. And I think maybe this is what they were referring to, when Brendan Uribe was saying, oh, I want a full 2.0 Rift, and they were saying, well, no, we want to make it more accessible and cheaper, so more people can jump on the platform. You can kind of see where they were going with it.
So maybe no sensors is the way to go, or are we still having? Because what they could also do is what Vive is doing with their base stations. I mean, you plug them in, they worked fine. As long as they move away from USBs, I think they're doing great. So if that's no sensors or sensors that are just getting plugged into your wall just through a power source and that's it, and they communicate with your headset, that could also...
I also think that this is where the contention came in with Uribe, because being a founder of Oculus and being part of the Rift and having this like great tracking solution with if you've got 3 sensors or more, to then sacrifice the tracking to a degree. And I know Windows mixed reality, it's like 98% there. Same with Quest as well, by the way. When you have the controller behind your head, it's just not tracked. And there's things they can do to compensate for that, but it's still not perfect. And I think that's the problem here, is that Rift owners and PC gamers, they want the perfect tracking. They don't want to make any sacrifices. And I think this is where the Rift S, if this is the case, might upset a few people, but I still understand why they would want to bring it to the market.
On the other side, if they move away from USBs, a lot of people will also be very happy. I mean, that has been a hassle too, for me at least, always replugging my USBs and then the sensor setup as well. I hope it's going to be even more easy for like people that just get their first headset. My brother recently decided to explain a bunch of people how to set up an Oculus Go, and they were even struggling with that. It's hard for people to get into that, so it needs to be easier. How easy it can be, like the most easy possible.
Well, the Go isn't as easy as you'd think when you look at the box. You're like, oh, all I need is this standalone headset. And then you realize you need the mobile app. And there are a number of steps. Like that was definitely, for me, one of the most surprising pieces of the Go, that there was quite a bit of friction in setup, where you'd expect for a device that's meant to be like super easy on the go, and alone, that it wouldn't require that.
And again, that comes also back to the marketing. If you market the Oculus Go in the right way, and the same with the Oculus Quest, then you will have a better, understanding of what you are going to get into. I spoke to like Mike last week about what I see on the community pages. A lot of people have no idea what the difference is between a Rift or an Oculus Go or a Quest. They don't know. They don't understand at all, and they also don't know what headset is really popular, which one is doing well because of what. It feels like there should be more, people should be educated more in that.
Backlash, I think, because even you were asking me about the Quest and my experiences with it, and I think even for somebody as technically savvy as Epyx, to have those questions at all at this stage,
because
we're months away from a release.
I've not been able to try a Quest, so I mean, that was my question for you, was how did you feel the tracking compared, right? But I mean, what you were saying, Nathie, the same thing. For my Rift and Vive, I got to a point where I just kept the Vive base station plugged in, and I would plug my Rift into that because I was so sick of constantly USB, right? And that worked for the longest time. But you're right, and that also ties into the marketing aspect, is we've got this alphabet soup of models and numbers. We're the insiders. We got to sometimes stop and think, oh yeah, the Go, that was the spec from the Quest. The person on the outside, like you say, looking in, who's new to VR, forget about it.
People just people like a black headset, and they don't really care about the rest. They are like, they're all the same, and they look all the same in some way. So no, you're right.
Yeah. But we had Nate Mitchell from Oculus post on Twitter this week saying that there's going to be more surprises coming soon, particularly around GDC. Including a new game from Turtle Rock Studios, which are the same team that brought you Left 4 Dead and Face Your Fears. And according to Nate Mitchell, this is going to be a game that kind of reminded him of playing Zelda back in the day, that they're going to be announcing around this time. So that's going to be super exciting. But it'll be interesting if the part of his tweet that he's talking about surprises is referring to this Rift S, and maybe we'll hear about it sooner than Oculus Connect. But again, whether this thing will exist or whether we're just talking about pure speculation and it's never going to materialize, who knows? But I'd love to know what people think in the chat as well, what they think about
You
this.
know what would be nice if you could like trade in your Oculus Rift and get a discount for the new one? I don't know, but
Like
nice.
a
They
trade-
recycle it and make like, I don't know, they use the parts again.
That's exactly. So one of the things that if anyone has watched like Apple's keynotes, like for the last number of keynotes, they talk about the recycled components when people turn their phone in and are able to then, 85% of that is then turned over and made into new phones, new displays, and that. I really do see that coming up as an important point, because if you take the Rift today, it's probably a landfill filler. Like there's probably not a lot easily to take that, decompartmentalize that,
Right. It's not
and
the most
and break it
modular
into
of devices.
recyclable components.
Right.
So that's coming.
Yeah, so that is some new Rift S speculation. So who knows what will happen there? But let's move on to this book I want to talk about called History of the Future. This is super interesting. It kind of came out of nowhere for me, and sadly I hadn't read any of Blake J. Harris's previous books. He wrote a book called Console Wars, which was all about the battle between Nintendo and Sega back in the day. Sounds like a super interesting book. It's had such high praise from everyone that's read this book. It's even being adapted to film by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, and is also going to be made into a documentary as well. So, I'm going to go back and check this out. But let's talk about his new book, which is releasing next week, I think on the 19th, and it's called History of the Future, and it's all about the story of Oculus, basically. And Blake, the author of this book, over 3 years had access to everyone who was around at the very beginning of Oculus, and interviewed everyone and got all their sort of insider knowledge and details, and he was deeply embedded in there, and that all changed. I don't personally know why that changed or how that came about, where he ended up being separated from that and not allowed access anymore, but that will obviously all be covered in the book. But I was sent the intro and the prologue to this book to have a read and get a better understanding for. And the book is actually introduced by Ernest Cline, the author of Ready Player One.
Yeah.
And then it goes into the insight of Palmer Luckey's past on the run up to sort of, reviving virtual reality for the modern age, and sort of his hacker modder, mentality, and then how he took that leap to create Oculus and then ultimately become one of the fastest sort of startups to get a multi-billion-dollar deal. It still stands as a record today that he was the fastest to do that. From idea inception to then selling it was just incredibly quick. And yeah, it's just really, really interesting and fascinating, and especially like in the bit that I learned was, is about his past. And I also learned about the Rift name and how they came up with that as an idea, which I never knew before. And basically they called it the Rift because it creates a rift between the real world and the virtual world. And it seems obvious when I say it now that that's the reason why they called it that, but I never knew that that was the true meaning behind it. So you're going to get lots of snippets of information and inside knowledge about Oculus through this book. And a lot of people have been tweeting about it this week as well, including Carmack himself. And he stated on Twitter that I got to review the first half of this book early on, before the breakdown between the author and Facebook communications. And the things that I had first-hand knowledge on were accurately reported. And I actually learned a bunch of stuff that happened outside my view. So even Carmack himself is saying this book is legit. It has some accurate reporting in there and some other stuff that he didn't even know about. And then Kent Bai this week has been tweeting excerpts from sort of emails and stuff that have been shared that add context to a lot of stuff that's in this book. And there's a really interesting point that was made, and I found this really interesting, that Brendan Uribe, obviously before he left the company, was actually highly susceptible to motion sickness in VR. And him and Carmack were having a discussion about Minecraft being on, the Rift and on the Go. And obviously, Brendan used to get terrible motion sickness playing this game, so he was suggesting other modes, whereas Carmack was like, no, it needs to be, pure as it is. Going into the depths and being chased by monsters is like the best experience, and it needs to be this way for players. And they had a bit of a butting of heads about this. And Carmack kind of said this thing, and he said it would be hard for a CEO of a sailing boat company to be enthusiastic and genuine about a product if they always got seasick when they went out on it. And Brendan is in exactly that position with these Oculus VR headsets, and it's kind of interesting to see that from the inside, you know.
I also think though, Mike, is like when I first met you, you were quite sensitive to VR sickness. I mean, I remember a few titles we played, and I was kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, he's not got his legs yet. I'm sure that's calmed down at this stage, but I see that, and if you're the unlucky fella who has that, it's hard to deal with it. But you can imagine that even with that detriment, when you are in the driving seat of such an entrepreneurial monster ship, that I don't think it would hold you back, even if you're making you sick every time you went in it. You know, and Minecraft, to be fair, is one of the benchmark sickness titles from the early days. It is not a comfortable experience.
And I just want to throw in, Mike, I read that first book, the Console War. Absolutely fantastic. When I saw this as an action item for discussion, I was really excited. This is one that I haven't read yet either. I can't wait to read it though. But the Console War one, fantastic, guys. You know, to me, the first one that I kind of really lived through was Atari versus Intellivision. That was, you know, the big one in the early 80s, but Nintendo Genesis is the one that everybody remembers, right? And how he goes in, and you talked about that, Mike, but it's literally in the trenches. I mean, there's stuff in there with that book too, where people were coming up and, you know, they were reminded of things that they'd forgotten. I mean, he does amazing research. So I'm really, really keen to read this. Can't wait.
I have to say, I'm going to call Gordon out on this because our environment here is littered with old gaming tech, cabinet of stuff. I mean, this guy knows. I didn't know he built an arcade cabinet by himself. He's got a Commodore literally at the feet here. I'm not joking. We are surrounded in this tech. So him being excited about this definitely makes me even more. So anyway, I don't read many books, but this one I might have to make an exception for.
So I'm like very intrigued. Where does this book then stop? Because as you said, like he wasn't allowed to be in there anymore. So when did it then stop? Because I would have loved to hear more about the shift from Oculus to becoming actually now a Facebook company, or as far as I know right now, Oculus is Facebook now, right? Oculus is pretty much now.
The book covers all of that. It covers Palmer's departure from Facebook as well. So there's a lot.
So he was still in there even when
he wasn't in there, he still had insider access or like snippets of information coming to him. And you know, this has been a passion project for him because he's very passionate about VR as well. So everything up until pretty much, you know, the last sort of 6 months maybe is going to be covered in this book.
Wow.
So if you want all the information about the drama, the inner politics, you know, everything from Oculus to Inception to almost where it is today,
geek drama.
So what does Facebook think about this book being released then?
That's a good question.
A lot of people were given copies of the book. You know, he sent out copies of the book to everyone, and that's why you know, Carmack got this kind of first half of the book to review himself. And you know, I think from what everyone has been saying, it's pretty accurate. You know, so it would be really interesting to learn more, particularly around, you know, Palmer's situation, because it was kind of a shock. You know, thing. You know, you make this company, you come with this vision, and then you sell it, and then you get ousted, you know, halfway through the first couple of years. You know,
it's a shame.
Who owns the movie rights, right? We are going to see a VR version of Social Network before long. I guarantee it, because that story of how Oculus came to be, like with the lawsuits that were going on and all the trauma.
The guy working in the garage in the beginning. Who's going to play Palmer?
Yeah, somebody mentioned in the chat as well, but I believe that the first book is being made into a movie. That's the concept.
Yeah, Michael's saying that.
So that you were saying that too. So this would be amazing as a movie. But like with Nathie, if it brings us, and it sounds like Mike, it does, into that period when Palmer was leaving, that's going to be interesting. Yeah,
super interesting.
Very juicy.
You can buy it on the 19th. You can buy it as a hard copy, or as a digital copy, or as an audiobook, I believe. So, so yeah, check that out on the 19th. And the book is called History of the Future, if you missed it the first time round.
One question I wonder if that book answers, and I assume it doesn't, is what caused the Rift to be delayed?
Who knows? You know, I think we all speculated that it was the Xbox controller, right?
There are more questions that I have. Like, when did they start making touch controllers for the Rift? You know, was it like after like the Vive controllers were already announced? Was that before? Was that, those are like kind of interesting things as well.
Just in hindsight, guys, because what was that gap? It was about 7 months
It was almost a year. It was almost a year.
And yet the attach rate now, would you guys agree it's pretty much 1-to-1?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Right, but even those early people, they've probably all got touches by now, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, they do.
I think we saw stats about that, and it was almost like 97%.
Right.
It was insanely high.
The delay was so crazy that when Oculus Home launched, there was almost no one that was able to even log into that with their ones because almost none of them yet.
Yeah. I know one of the 3%. My best mate, I've been trying to convince him.
He still has just the...
He won't buy the Touch.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like, come on,
so
man.
there you go. There's the one guy.
We need to send him a Touch. I feel bad for him. Let's arrange this. But yeah, so that's all about that book. Definitely go and check it out. I'm sure we'll probably talk about it more next week once we've had some time to read it. Maybe we can share some juicy details with you. But let's talk about our final topic this week, and that is Audica. And this is a new VR game announced this week from Harmonix. Now, if you're not familiar with Harmonix, they're the team famous for creating the Rock Band series and also Rock Band VR. And actually, I have a funny quick story about this. And because Nathie and I went to an event maybe about a year ago now in London. It was before the Go even came out, and we were there to check out some new Rift content. And Jason Rubin was there, and we got chatting to him. And I, of course, asked the super cheesy question of like, what's your favorite VR experience? And he laughed actually, and he said that his favorite game was a game that no one pretty much ever played, and that was Rock Band VR.
Yeah,
and
I still want to play it. It's meant to be awesome.
Yeah,
it's meant to be awesome.
The hilarious thing is, this game, everyone who bought a Rift got the adapter to play this game, but no one did, because obviously you needed a guitar controller to play it. But they went to the effort of bundling this accessory with every Rift because they thought it was going to be this like huge success, and it flopped completely in terms of a VR game.
That was it, Mike. Think if that's what delayed it. Think how embarrassing it would be.
Dude, it's so funny you mention that because when he said this, I laughed and said, "Was that the reason why the Touch was delayed?" And he said, "No, it wasn't." So it's funny that you said that because great minds think alike.
I don't even know what accessory that is. I can't even...
It's like a rubbery thing, right? Like a holder.
Yeah, I've still got a couple. Yeah.
You know, funny fact. Last week I was on the Oculus store, checking on how you buy a Rift nowadays and how you get a Go, and they still sell this on their store. You can buy one now if you want.
What is it?
Going even deeper down the rabbit hole. Do you remember that trailer they made with Palmer smashing his guitar on the ground and then jumping into the tour bus with these rock band dudes? Dude, that trailer. This is what I'm talking about. If you have a like a role model, someone that is like the frontman of your company, you can really sell a product. And that's an example of how you do it.
That was better than his Alaska trip. Most embarrassing.
Oh, that was so cringe.
That was hilarious.
Don't start on that one.
Oh yeah.
But you gotta credit him. He does it though, Like who else would have I would have said, heck no, I'm doing that. But he just, he rolls with it. Okay, it's cringy and awkward, but in a way, that's also why I watched it, because I knew it was going to be in some kind of way cringy and awkward, because it was going to go wrong if they do it live. Of course, it's going to go wrong. Everything goes wrong when it goes live.
Okay,
so
what's going on here, Mike? Explain.
So if you don't know about like what we're talking about and what we're laughing about here, but basically someone, a member of the VR community won the very first CV1, and it was delivered by Palmer himself. And you can Google it and check it out. It's the cringiest video ever. The guy is just so underwhelmed.
Yeah,
it's hilarious.
The best part is just that, first off, it's not delivered at his house. He had it delivered at his workplace. So he couldn't install it. He couldn't do like a computer. Like he couldn't do anything. He didn't have anything there. He had to drive all the way home and then to set it up. But the way that Palmer introduced it, it was like, oh yeah, we traveled so many hours, this and that. We're gonna finally deliver. I wanted to do it in person, this and that. And then he finally gets to the guy. He hands it over, and it's literally like maybe 2-3 minutes, and then like, okay, well, have fun
it's
then.
So weird. this is the first guy buying a Rift. You had to be so freaking fast to get it.
Yep.
And then he's not even excited to see Palmer delivering.
But he didn't
all the
know.
packages. It's amazing.
He didn't know it was going to
He
be
had
him.
that look on him, like, "Are you leaving yet?" Like,
Yeah, exactly. It was a little bit funny.
Oh my days. But we're getting a little bit off road here.
Yeah.
But basically, Guitar Hero, this Guitar Hero experience, this Rock Band game, has been made by the same guys who now made this new title, right?
Audica, exactly, yeah.
They also made Dance Central. I want to call it out because there were several of those on Xbox with Kinect. So they've dabbled in this kind of technology for some time, and that was really solid. Like for years in London when it was terrible outside and I nothing to do for fitness, it was my Beat Saber. Like, and it's amazing that you can do this game. If anyone's played like Just Dance or something that's very controller oriented and kind of faking it, it was a real game, which was skeletally tracking you through kinetic, and it was amazing.
Oh, wait. The hand solo dance thing was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. So let me just call you out on that one. Everything else maybe, but hand solo dancing, I'm sorry.
Mike, have you done hand solo the dance in Beat Saber already?
Refused.
You have to try.
I beat both Dance Central 1 and 2 and have high scores in those, but I have no idea what you're referring to with regards to
Kinect. It was the Kinect one. It was like a Star Wars Kinect.
Han Solo.
Oh, it was a separate title altogether that Harmonix developed?
Or maybe it was Just Dance. I'm getting confused a little bit, but anyway, we're going way off track. We're sort of like we're in the reeds right now. Let's pull it back onto the road. So, Audica is a new beat rhythm game, and the way I could best describe it for audio listeners is that imagine if Beat Saber and Space Pirate Trainer had a beautiful neon baby. That's what this game would be, and basically you're armed with a pair of rhythm gun blasters, and you have to shoot and smash targets to the beat of the soundtrack, which has songs from like the most popular electronic artists in the world. And basically you have blue and orange blasters, which obviously correspond with targets, which you need to shoot in time with the music. And it says that you will need to be proactive until you and your blasters become one, performing a tightly choreographed ballet of beat blasting brilliance.
A ballet?
A ballet of brilliance. And it's going to launch with around 25 tracks, apparently. But of course, the big question from the community has been, is it going to have custom track support? And are they going to be able to map their own tracks? Because that's really what everyone from the VR sort of rhythm game community wants, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, Beat Saber didn't start with custom tracks either, and it was still a hit, you know?
No. It was the community that were able to mod it and do it themselves that pushed that forward and exploded, and still to this day is what is pushing Beat Saber
up to this
forward.
day. But when it initially got released, it didn't have any mod support.
No, but now that people are aware that we can have this, you know, they want it obviously straight away. So I would imagine people will try to mod this straight away, but obviously they're not going to be supporting any mods initially out of the gate.
But it's a Harmonix game. Like, I mean, the excitement for me in a Harmonix game is they're going to bring in really decent audio. Like that is
I see what you're saying.
That is their soup. And like maybe I'm sitting on the other side of the fence to that, you know, massive people who like modding Beat Saber and similar games to get their tracks in. I'm a vanilla game guy. Like if you give me 10 tracks, I'll just play that over and over and over. And I'm totally happy to not have my music.
Me too.
Because it's perfectly synced, it's perfectly mapped, it's exactly as the developer intends.
That's your primary, right?
It's their artist's brush. It's not like 70 different random people on the internet. Because the consistency level and getting like, you know, happy tracks, if I want to call it that, like a good consistent experience. You know, it is not there when you open it to the community. Unfortunately, you can find it one decent guy who's pumping these things out and working as hard as he can. But then again, it's just one person.
But license-wise, you can't even do that in the first place. So it will always be or the community making something extra for your game. And yeah, marketing-wise, that's awesome. And if they can't do it, might impact your title a little bit after, especially Beat Saber being such a big hit. People now think that's the standard. Well, like people really think that all these songs you can, you know, mod have been provided by the devs from Beat Saber, but that's not true.
And actually, I found out a really shocking piece of news, which I don't even think, I didn't see it make press, but Audio Shield, which actually Audica looks a lot like, it borrows the same kind of color theme and the way you're staged, and even in the mixed reality presentation of it, looks a lot like Audio Shield, one of the early audio beat games, which I really liked, by a guy called Dylan Fitterer. Who did
and a bit of Blasters of the Universe.
A little bit of Blasters of the Universe in there as well. But that game got totally neutered. Like, there's no way I could recommend Audio Shield to someone today because the whole kind of grab a YouTube video with any song and present it, they had to take it out.
Yeah.
And so if you have that
you're
game,
right,
it's
that
been
did compromise the experience.
I can't even play it now. It's just like, what's the point? You know,
No, fair enough. That's a fair point. Yeah.
It's weird. What is there a reason that you know that they got rid of that? Or that they had to get rid of that?
As I understand, it was legal
I
reasons.
played it last week, and I can confirm it's all out. Because I told someone, like, you got to try this game because you can watch a video on screen and then also play with it. But it's out. There
But
are
that's
only
so
some
weird because if the
songs in there now.
because if the video is on YouTube, is that not already on like a platform that is already a third party? Like,
because it was built into the game and it's a bit of like a marriage service, you can't step that far away from it if you're saying, you know, I'm making it easy. It's kind of like the days of Napster and Kazaa. You can't just like provide the platform and be like, oh, they're just doing it. It's not me. It's them.
yeah. But then it's the same as like what Beat Saber is providing modding tools. Oh yeah, you can mod the game so you can add custom tracks.
I don't know if they're allowing it so much because it breaks every time they update the game, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the Vive Rift emulator? I can't remember the name of it. It's exactly
Revive.
Revive. It was in the same spot for ages.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think, you know, this mixed reality trailer does a good job of portraying how cool this game could be playing in VR, and I think it's another advocate of like mixed reality trailers do make VR games look really cool to play. So it's cool that they're doing that. They're also going to have live support, so you can make your own mixed reality content when this game comes out. It's going to be launching on Oculus and Steam on March the 7th. So put that in your diary and definitely want to look forward to it. I'm looking forward to playing this one. I think it looks like a lot of fun.
Me too. So this could be the first time Beat Saber gets competition.
Yeah, good point.
Legit competition. Yeah, exactly.
This is interesting, by the way. In the chat, they're saying Eric is saying that it's not about the legality of the YouTube tracks that they had to take that one out, but it was that the YouTube API started to have fees associated with it.
Yes.
Right.
That would kill it, especially for a single dev.
That makes sense.
The only other Harmonix game I was just going to underline, because they actually have a lot of VR experience, Xing Space on the go. And if anyone's looking for...
Yeah, I played that one.
It's
like
actually
a karaoke title.
Karaoke.
I like it.
My wife, we had loads of fun.
Right.
You got to kick a pair of goes. You can either do it one at a time or do it in tandem or do it with friends if you have the balls.
But I do feel like they never had a killer title in VR that everyone remembers. I mean, VR was okay, but as you said, like no one really used it. Honestly, I never used that thing. I never jumped in there.
I don't think any of us.
That's
right?
also again marketing, right? You need to educate people on the way they know what to do with it. But this could be the first one where they really put themselves on the map with a VR experience.
Great timing, because Beat Saber has pumped the flames of like you want VR and audio and something to kind of jam to, and now people will want more. Like a couple months from now, there's going to be a huge mass of people looking for. I just want another game.
It's gonna be interesting because Beat Saber starts to now sell these DLC packs soon.
Yeah,
and I'm sure they have some more tricks up on their sleeves. They
well,
have the DICE Award too, right? One of the DICE Awards. So. It kind of depends on how they promote this new title because, as Mike said many times before, Beat Saber had this free marketing, and I don't feel like you can pull that off once again with a Beat Saber had its moment, but you can't just do the same thing and surf on those popularity waves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look at Beat Saber. I think you showed it, Nathie. You had the video of the arcade style machine, right? Yeah. I mean, would they have been able to do that had it not taken off like that? Probably not, right?
I mean, Beat Saber has been smart enough to even expand into like arcades and show off Beat Saber in like real places. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm just happy to see the success of a game like Beat Saber because that's really like a game that just sells the system, right? I mean, if people see that, they want to try that. And even if, because I wouldn't say that I'm that big of a rhythm fan. But, I occasionally still get into the game just to, like, do the songs. So, like, even on, like, lower modes or whatever. But it's such a fun title. And if I can get people over, it's almost the instant that they want to try virtual reality is one of the first things I let them try, because it really is a system seller. You know, you really get virtual reality when you're trying that. And okay, it's maybe not like the most like intensive game. You know, it's not a first person shooter like the types of game. I mean, I wouldn't play Beat Saber on a PC. You know, I would like swiping stuff like that.
Plus
what?
Yeah.
Expert plus.
Honestly, if I got people that are not gamers that come over, the two things that constantly come up: Beat Saber, Google Earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly the same for me. And it's wander on the go, because you can just go to any location. It's like, oh, I'm now in South Africa, and you're like look around, you're like, this is fucking cool.
And don't forget, like, Beat Saber is super easy to learn. And now with these modifiers, like we had this party last week, I put everything on no fails, no obstacles, they were just failing all the time, but they had the most fun time ever, and they didn't care. So yeah, but honestly, I think this is the best developer we could wish for that is working on this rhythm game, because I don't feel like they made this to compete with Beat Saber in the first place. This company has always made titles that have music involved. It's like in their, soul of developing. So they are going to go for their own take. Well, we have also seen others like the pop stick game, for example. They're really trying to hop onto this hype train of Beat Saber being there, and I don't think they are getting distracted by that at all. They have always made these games in the first place.
Harmonix is a company that just breeds these kinds of children.
Yeah.
Their
That's
offspring,
right.
They're happy with them, and I agree with you. I think there hasn't been much sway.
That's why I think
the pipeline for a year.
And that's why I do think it can live next to Beat Saber and have its own genre.
I just hope they add something new to the
date
table.
Mike?
Though.
What time is it? March?
March the 7th. Yep. So not long. A couple of weeks.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we had a really jam-packed show this week. Thank you to Epyx for hosting Zim in your house and being part of the show as well. Always a pleasure to chat with you again about VR. And if you've got any questions, I think now's a good time to ask some questions. You can ask Epyx some questions, or you can ask us some questions just while I round up the show times again. So just a reminder, it's a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitch. Tune into the show live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in Central US. Or check out the audio version, which you can get on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Anchor.
Speaking of exercise titles, and looping back to your Elite Dangerous comment, best comment of the day for me goes to Stefan Anderson, who said, I played Elite Dangerous for 13 hours. Burned 4 calories.
Exactly. I think it's a negative deficit you incur playing that. But yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
If you want to bulk up, you need to play that.
We talked about Rift S, obviously Audica, this new book coming out next week. We've got loads of stuff to look forward to. Definitely hyped about that book.
There's a question for you here, Mike, from my Rift kit. I'm saying this because you've got experience with these cards. I'm installing separate liquid coolers on my i7 and RTX 1080 Ti, but installs will be a month apart. Which will have the most profound effect? Which should I do first?
I wouldn't separate them. I would just wait. Just wait, because I'm not gonna lie. It is such a pain in the ass to do it that you just want to do it all in one. Trust me. Don't separate them, because you're going to have to redesign a loop. You're going to have to design a loop the first time, install it, and then redesign it the second time and uninstall it and cut new pipes. It is probably the worst thing I would ever recommend anyone to do.
but it looks nice.
It looks super nice.
I mean, and then when people come by, you can tell the story every time how much you struggle, but it looks nice.
And trust me, you will understand what it's like to have a sleepless night the first 2 nights after you've got it set up, thinking that your PC is pissing itself in the other room. So that's my advice.
What was the name of the video that you did where you showed your build? Because that was a cool video, and for anyone who's looking at like a finalized product,
So I think if you just Google like how to water cool an RTX 2080 Ti, then you'll find my video about it, which is kind of a rarity for me, but it was kind of an interesting one I wanted to do. But annoyingly about that video, interesting story, is that EK changed their guide the day after I put up that video to add some more
to screw you over
to this. So everyone in the video is like, "Oh, you're a noob, you missed out that." I'm like, EK changed the fucking guide after the video, dude. It's like, seriously.
Exactly.
Anyway. So there we have it, guys and girls. I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. We've had a blast as always. We'll be back at the usual time next week. So have a great week in VR. And until then, bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.